Awesome, man. Thanks for having us on here. So what we're going to walk you through today is our overview into Equitable Advisors as an organization and a company, and here in our Southwest branch and some of the things we stand for and represent. So agenda for our presentation today, we'll talk about kind of the high level overview as far as the opportunity as we see it today. I'll go a little bit into the industry and different areas that you can work. Then I'll talk about why becoming a financial advisor with us, dive into the specifics of what makes our branch out of 40 branches across the country unique, diving into our purpose, our cause, our passion, what our niche is, some of our core values, and then some examples of our culture. I'll dive into the difference between the common and the professional approach, how we get clients, compensation, level of activity, why people fail, some of the support and resources that you might receive here, and then timeline and career paths typically for if you wanted a position here, what that kind of looks like, next steps and things of that nature. So if there's any questions throughout, by all means, go ahead and jump in. First things first is the opportunity, right? I'll kind of click through this and just display them on the screen as you see them so you can kind of get an idea. At the end of the day, there's never been a better time to become a financial professional. You know, they say 10,000 baby boomers are retiring daily in droves for the next couple of decades. It just so happens that their financial advisors are also retiring. So the need has never been greater and the demand has never been higher while the supply of advisors is shrinking. Meanwhile, there's $24 trillion in retirement assets and only 1 out of 3 advisors have a formal, what they call succession plan in place for them to hand off their clients. Not to mention, once that generation passes on, they're going to $60 trillion in U.S. wealth is going to change hands over the next half of a century, passing to the second largest generation, the millennial generation. And they say that 98%, which is about every single one, of new wealth inheritors change financial advisors, right? We're in a relationship business. New wealth inheritor doesn't have that same relationship, so they usually change financial advisors. There's 5% of our industry under the age of 30, which makes it the best time for a young advisor to get into this role because it's a shrinking industry and there's never been a greater need for it. So pretty exciting time to get into a niche and an industry like this when there's a lot of money in motion, a lot of need for the services that we offer. So that really breaks it down to awesome. I want to become a financial professional. I don't know where to begin, right? There's really 4 kind of areas in the financial industry you can work. We've broken them down as simple as this. The first one is the wirehouses. The wirehouses are the Vanguards, excuse me, the Merrill Lynch's of the world, right? The Charles Schwab's of the world, where you're sitting behind a desk, you're bringing in assets under management, as many millions of dollars as you can, not really advising clients, but just more trying to bring in as many clients as you can to fit into the models that your firm is creating. Then you've got the call centers. These are the Vanguards of the world. I believe Merrill Edge is another one that is the call center where you're literally strapped to a headset, given a script, help field inbound calls, which are customer service related, and you're going to help pass those on to the bigger advisors over at the wirehouses. Then you've got the insurances. So think anything ending in the word mutual, right? Liberty Mutual, Northwestern Mutual, Mass Mutual. They're predominantly selling life insurance, annuity, long-term care, disability insurance, things like that. We consider ourselves in that lower right-hand one, which is comprehensive planning, where it's not our focus on how much money you're bringing in or what type of business you're doing with the client, but we're looking at doing planning on behalf of our client. And so it puts our clients' needs first, right? So why become a financial professional? I think we just kind of talked about it. There's a video you can look up on YouTube on why become a financial professional with Equitable Advisors, which I'll spare you the viewing of that video. You can probably look it up online, but it dives into really there's what we call the 3 I's, right? You want to get into this role for the ability to have an impact on people. And a lot of times when I interview people, they say they want to go into this job to help people. And that's great. But I also say you can help people by volunteering at a soup kitchen. So we peel back the layer a little bit further and they say, well, okay, fine. I also want to make a good income. So that's the second I. Cool. That's something you can do by being in this role is help people and make a good income. But then you ask, again, another why. Do you want to make a good income? And then at the end of the day, when we uncover that third layer, it ends up being that third I, which is they want independence, right? They want freedom, and they find this is the ability to do that. So it's to be able to have an impact on people, make a good income, and truly achieve good independence. That would be the reasons you'd want to become a financial professional with us. So as I mentioned, we are one of 40 branches across the country. We used to be called OBSA Advisors. As a matter of fact, this is the picture of our front lobby that I have yet to update. because we've now got new signage and new names called Equitable Advisors. And our firm here represents the states of Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona. So we're talking to you here today from our Scottsdale office. That's where DJ and I both work out of. And again, we are all the branches, we're all fairly autonomously run. And so we have our own different vision here than a lot of the other branches do. And so when people ask us, what do we do? What's our purpose? It's really as simple as we make dreams happen. I know that sounds a little cliche, but when you start breaking it down into what we do with our clients and what we do even for our advisors, is we allow them to have the lives of their dreams. How we do that, right? What our niche is by removing financial uncertainty. That's the way that we can allow them to make their dreams happen. Again, this goes for the clients and the advisors, right? Our advisors have a streamlined way of knowing what their income is going to be for the next few months and years, and they don't have financial uncertainty when they're building up residual income with our firm. The next thing is our core values. These are the values that we hire by and unfortunately have to fire by. This helps make our firm culture great, and it also helps us retain the right types of people who want to be here and align with what we are. These didn't come up with what we aspire to be, but rather what we already are and what already makes us great. Number one is we win, right? We want to have a competitive group of people who care about winning and keeping score. And so predominantly, people who care about that can be athletes, can be top performers in their school programs. People who care about winning are going to do well here. Then that leads right into the next one, bring the fun. I don't know anybody that cares about winning or is competitive about something that don't enjoy doing, right? You don't hear about a lot of competitive tax returns being prepared in the CPA world, right? People are usually enjoying themselves when they're aspiring to win. So bring the fun is just as important. But again, caring about a success. We're not in an individual sport, right? We're in a team sport. So rising tide raises all ships. And we believe if everybody wins, then we're all going to be having a good time. Entrepreneurial vision, right? That's a big one. Challenging the norm, not just being okay with the status quo. But that goes hand in hand with crossing the finish line. That doesn't mean just finishing what you start, but also utilizing proven processes and sticking to the systems that work, is going to be key to people's success here. So a couple of things about our culture, right? This is a winning environment. We recognize top performers both locally and nationally. We've won a number of awards here at the firm, different President's Trophies at Most Admired Companies, Great Place to Work. So a number of different things that we've won here and been recognized for. And then, of course, our Bring the Fun. There's no shortage of fun things that we do here at the firm. And again, some examples here on the screen. Hopefully when the world reopens and gets normal, we can probably do a lot more of those, but these are examples from years in the past. So that's a little bit about our firm. Zach, any questions, anything I can address before I move into how our process works and some of the things that we do differently?
Not at the moment. I have some questions that I'll ask at the end of it.
Awesome. So that kind of gets us to the common versus the professional approach when it comes to planning, right? Most advising firms would start with products, meaning you'd go work at a financial firm, they tell you all about the products they offer, then you're going to go find as many people as you can to listen to you, to go sell them these products. And then that makes up the client's portfolio, but little, if any, actual strategy gets put in place when it comes to the planning side. Again, I mentioned we're on the comprehensive planning approach. So we would sit down and look at the strategy first. We flip that pyramid right side up, get to know our clients' goals and objectives, then take a look at what existing portfolio they have in place. And then lastly, if we need to, we fill in any products or eliminate any ones that might be redundant, but the strategy is the foundation. Again, it keeps our clients first, and it doesn't force us to sell or represent a product and give us any incentive to have any need to be less than unbiased with them. The way we do that with our clients is through a 5-step process, right? Meeting number 1 is called a discovery. Meeting number 2 is called a profile, where we get to know the clients better. Meeting number 3 is where we present them our solution as a strategy. And then 4 and 5 is an ongoing step. For our new advisors getting into this, we're heavily focused on keeping track of how many opening appointments they can set, right? Those are the discovery meetings. As many of those as we can move to profiles, right? You usually figure about 3 out of 5 will move to profile. And then of those 3 to 5, they're going to come to a profile and get to disclose everything about their situation. That's when we run the analysis between 2 and 3. And at step 3, we present them to the results of our findings as well. Step 4 is after they become a client. And then of course, an ongoing review is how you retain that client for the long term. So 4 and 5 is eventually what you want to get your career to, where you're just running reviews with your existing clients, getting either ongoing business, referrals, or some type of residual business from that. in that scenario. So how we can get those clients is there's a number of different ways, right? We've got short-term marketing or long-term marketing. And this is be dependent on each different kind of advisor. We have some that are focused on warm markets, some that are focused on cold markets. And we run trainings every week on different spokes of the marketing wheel that you can get involved with, right? Building up your natural market, utilizing cold calling, utilizing referrals, getting involved in your community, building centers of influence. There's quite a number of different things. At the end of the day, we're in a relationship-based business. And so it's really, really important to get involved as much as you can in terms of that, okay? So as far as the different ways, or excuse me, why I think people fail in this line of work is, number one, they don't do the activity, right? Unfortunately, I wish we could say we keep 100% of the people that sign on with us. That'd be great. The reality of it is people do fail out of this industry, and it's very easy to see the writing on the wall when you look at their calendar, right? They have a blank calendar for weeks on end. That means they weren't doing the activity, even though they were told how many meetings they were supposed to be setting, how many meetings they were supposed to be running, how many people they wanted to see on a weekly basis. They just didn't do it. Now, very rarely we have somebody fail out of this industry with a full calendar, and it's usually for the second reason. They didn't follow the system. I mentioned we have proven processes, and if people take shortcuts and skip steps, that tends to not work out too well for them. And then, typically end up doing that. They tend to find out they're not really a good fit, right? Either they didn't align with the core values or they cut corners in one of these ways. That tends to not work out too well for them. But I'll always say you'll never fail in this industry, at least not at our firm, in our office here, due to lack of support. You get support at multiple levels, the first of which is at the team level. So I run one of our 5 teams here in our office. And we do new associate trainings. We utilize weekly business planning, weekly mentoring, a team meeting once a week. But the most powerful training we get is through joint work, right? You're not just thrown into the deep and hope you can swim. We will literally run meetings with you hand in hand so you can get up and running as quickly as possible. At the firm level, we do a ton of trainings for a number of different people at different levels of their process. Once a month offsite training, semi-annual retreats. We have branch provided lead programs you can qualify for. And then of course, at the corporate level, there's conferences, again, under normal circumstances when we were meeting in person, leadership conferences, diversity summits. They encourage peer study groups, encourage professional designations. And then of course, we have an entire suite called Equitable Advisors Virtual University. Questions on that? The last thing I have here is really just our onboarding process.
No, not at the moment.
Okay. So really our onboarding process is real simple. We have a 3-interview process. And normally they would start with a phone call with me. Then we go to a 30-minute Zoom call for a first interview. Second interview is an information session similar to this one, where we dive into the nitty-gritty and get questions answered. And then the third interview would be a presentation of your business plan to our firm. Once you've accepted the offer, then you start coming to trainings and you start studying. And then you've got these 3 phases where you're going to try and get licensed as quickly as possible with those 4 licenses. Then you're going to get into our pre-employment period. And then of course, start seeing clients. And as soon as you've earned 5 clients and earned $6,000 in commission, you get a bonus for contracting and you'd officially be on with our firm. We do reimburse you upon passing of all your exams. So we encourage everybody who is looking down this path to start these tests as quickly as possible and just save your receipts, because the sooner you can get those tests done, the better. So that's about all I got for today.
Excellent. Thank you, Karan. Excellent presentation. I enjoyed learning a lot more about Equitable Advisors. So my first question is, I got a little bit of a sense of the culture and it seems like it's very supportive. There's room for growth. What would you say is really the deciding factors that led you to accept a position at Equitable Advisors versus a different firm?
Good question. To be honest, I didn't really interview anywhere else, and I didn't really feel like I needed to. Steve Jobs has a quote that says, you should do what you love, and something that DJ touched on as well. And I think it's, and I'm paraphrasing Steve Jobs' quote, but he just basically said, you'll know it when you get there. It'll feel right. And just like with all matters of the heart, you'll know it and you'll feel it, and until you get there, don't settle. I just had a really good piece about, working at this firm, and I got a really good sense of support from the people that I interviewed with and everything else, that I didn't really find a need or reason to look elsewhere or explore my options, which might be a little bit foolish if you think about it from a due diligence standpoint, but it's been the best decision I've made. That was over 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago. And I am, now obviously sitting in a vice president seat very quickly due to the support. So that's been an affirmation that I made the right choice and chose the right team. And that's another thing. It is a team, right? If you do want to work by yourself and you choose and you think you'll thrive in an environment where you're on your own, kind of doing the lone wolf thing, more power to you. You just will not work well here, right? You'll probably be a poor fit, to be quite frank. So if you want a team environment, this is the place to be.
Yes, definitely. It's great to hear. And how would you say, it sounds like there's a lot of room for growth and opportunity to move up with the company. Is there a lot of room for lateral movements as well as vertical movements within the company?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry, I guess I skipped one of the slides on career paths. Yeah, you can choose to get into a VP role like I did if you wanted to get into leadership. We try and identify those as early as your first year, and we can get you on a 2-year program to be a vice president in 2 years. Or if you wanted to continue to be a producer, you could run your own team and just help clients and work with other advisors just like you who are doing that as well. So there's definitely a ton of options, both laterally and horizontal or vertically, as you said.
Excellent, excellent. And it seems like the employees that really follow the proven processes do the best. What other skills and attributes would you say that your top employees really exhibit?
It's really simple, Zach. I got 3 things that I'm looking for when I'm hiring somebody: is do you have work ethic, are you coachable, and do you have a personality, right? If you have those 3 things, you're going to do pretty well and thrive. But yeah, that's really it.
Definitely. Excellent. So I know a lot of our members live in other areas other than Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
If they were interested in working at one of the other 39 branches, would it be a similar application process, or do you know if it's any different?
It's very different everywhere. Not very different. Let me take
Okay.
that back. It's different in the sense that we would have to have you speak to one of the VPs out there, because as you can tell, each office has their own culture. So it might not be exactly what I talked about. The interview process is fairly uniform across the board, and DJ can correct me if I'm wrong there. He's on the recruiting side and speaks to a lot of the recruiters out of the other branches as well. But each VP does things slightly different. So it's not as though you could interview with us and then say, well, great, now I'm going to go accept an offer at another branch. You still have to interview with them because they have to determine whether you're a good fit for their team as well. That being said, we can definitely help refer you to some of the other VPs. We are very collaborative in that way. And I mentioned those peer study groups. I'm connected to a lot of the other VPs out of the other branches. So if I do come across a candidate that is looking at relocating, I'm happy to make an introduction to one of the other offices across the country.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Karan,
So it is pretty, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, yeah, it is a pretty uniform process across the board for all the different branches from what I've heard. It's that 3-step interview process, but it's really just making sure that you're going to be a fit for each individual office in particular, because the biggest point Karan made is that culture fit. You got to have that strong culture fit in order for them to actually be successful in the role. So that's really the big thing that they're looking for in each of those branches. But with people that may be interested in opportunities outside of Arizona here, since obviously you guys are kind of all over the place, they can definitely feel free to reach out to either Karan or myself, and we can get them in touch with whatever local branch they may be interested in as well.
Excellent. Yes, I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Perfect. And then let's say you start in the Arizona branch and you want to relocate, it sounds like it's pretty easy to move across locations within the company.
Yeah, it's very rare that happens because you'd be leaving a lot of your clients behind. But so, if somebody is thinking, well, I'll just work at the Arizona office for like 6 months and then switch over, probably wouldn't be in their best interest to do that, to be quite honest. But, it's definitely not impossible. If something did happen in your life and you just wanted to move, I mean, you could still do that. That's definitely not impossible. We have had people transfer branches, both in and out of our branch. So yeah, there's no reason not to do that. It's not typical, I'll be honest.
Yes, that makes sense. Excellent. And then with the turnover rate, would you say more people leave the company because they either quit or let go?
Well, so again, it's as you saw, it's do the activity, follow the system. So if you don't do one of those things, it's not that we would choose to let you go. You just wouldn't be successful, right? So it kind
Yeah.
of a mutually agreed upon decision if you think about it that way. Very rarely do we ever have to fire somebody, right? And that's kind of a good thing, meaning they either don't make it due to their own lack of productivity, or if we did have to fire somebody, obviously it'd be like an HR or compliance related issue, which is out of our hands anyway. That's more of a legal reason than a, hey, we don't want you around type of reason.
Yes, yes. Makes sense.
Yeah, so it's tough to say what percentage is let go versus, it's just you either make it or you kind of don't. That's about as simple as it gets.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I think you mentioned there were 4 exams that you need to be licensed with the company. Are the students able to take those while in college and then still get that reimbursement?
100%. Okay. And I highly encourage it, especially the life and health and the SIE. Those are 2 that I always, when I'm talking to students, I recommend they take before they graduate. It gives them a huge leg up. You don't need sponsorship for those 2. And the ones that are really overachievers can also take the Theory 66. But yeah, you can get reimbursed upon passing those. Upon contracting with us.
Okay, that's excellent to hear. Mm-hmm. So I know one thing that's very important, especially with the younger generation, is the opportunity to give back to the environment and culture. So it sounds like there is a lot of corporate social responsibility. What kind of things does Equitable Advisors do in that sense?
Corporate social responsibility from a corporate level, I'm not too familiar with. DJ, you might be. I know we do kind of a once a year we do a service day, right, where we all go kind of volunteer at a specific organization. And again, it's different this year now, so I'm not sure what we're going to end up doing. There's also what they call matching gifts, and they do a bunch of donations to the Equitable Foundation, which again, maybe DJ can speak more to. I don't particularly have specific information on that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else DJ, about that.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to those foundation matches, Equitable will match dollar for dollar up to a certain dollar amount for any organization that anyone's that is an employee of Equitable is willing to donate to. So that's a really cool opportunity to be able to give back to all sorts of different organizations, not just one in particular. Other than that, I'd say most of what I've heard is from the branch levels of being able to kind of get involved within each of the communities. I wouldn't say there's a huge national push. Really, our big national push right now is for diversity and inclusion, which we've been able to make a huge strides on, which has been awesome to see.
Yes, that's actually, yes, I know diversity and inclusion is also another very important factor to everyone, but especially the younger generations coming in as well. So, do you have any questions for me?
Not that I haven't already asked, I don't think. DJ, anything?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, going into next year, I mean, what other opportunities would you see for us to maybe get involved with some of the students in your organization?
Yeah, so I know that workshops are popular, so like how to write resumes or even interview skills, because I know a big issue that a lot of students have is that they'll go through interview after interview and they may never get the job, and they don't get the feedback that they really seek from interviewers, so they don't understand why they're not getting the position. And without that feedback, it's really hard for them to improve on a personal and professional level. So anything like that would be very helpful for the students of the organization. I've opened this up to not just members of our organization, because I see the value for you and I see the value for ASU students. So I've opened it up through the newsletters and through professors to share it with all of them. So everyone at ASU is eligible to attend workshops or meetings that I believe would be beneficial for everyone involved. But anything like that, or if you think that there's another presentation you would like to give, I know having them too close together isn't necessarily the most productive, but down the line, if you think that giving another presentation similar to this would be beneficial, then we'd love to have that as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, on the recruiting standpoint, when it comes to any resume workshops or just kind of interview panels where I might be able to kind of ask questions and people give feedback, I'd love to be able to be a part of that, to be a resource to your organization in that sense. But yeah, anything else you might be able to think of going into the next year where we might be able to provide value, definitely feel free to reach out and we'd love to stay connected.
Definitely. I had actually one more question about, with everything being virtual and going into either internships or full-time positions for students, do you know when and if, such as summer graduating students in May, if summer positions would be on-site or remote?
Not 100% sure. We are trying to do everything we can to keep it as remotely capable as possible. If we were to onboard a new advisor, typically that's graduating in the spring, their summer period is done through testing anyway. So we will keep them remote as far as keeping them accountable for their exams, but we're virtually capable, I'll just say it that way. There's no virtual internships though, unfortunately.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense. And if an employee did decide that when they started remote, that they enjoyed the remote and they didn't want to necessarily go back to on-site when the company brings everyone back, would they have that option?
Brand new advisors, no. If you're pretty well established, yeah, right? I mean, and that just goes to building, our retention is so good because we have the ability to develop you through good systems. And if your system is, you're brand new, you just don't have the system, right? And until you do, you're not going to be, I mean, again, you've got to earn your ability to get to that freedom, but it's, you know, our whole industry is merit-based. So not to say you couldn't earn your way to get there sooner, but brand new advisors, just because of lack of time, don't have that.
Yes, that makes sense. Excellent. Well, this was very informative. I know it was very helpful for me. I'm positive it'll be very helpful for all of the students I send this recording to. Yeah. And DJ, yes, if I see, I'm in touch with the Career Center constantly. So if they reach out to me and say that there's a panel or a board discussion that happens, I can definitely send that along to you and make sure that you're aware of that as well.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time, Karan, as well.
Absolutely.
And I hope you both have excellent holidays and excellent rest of your week.
Thanks, you as well.
Awesome. Zach. Thank you. Appreciate it, Zach.
Thank you.